Welcome. This is day number 2 of hand reading. This table, it's a full table. I'm on the button with King Queen offsuit, and we have the low jack raises to 2.8. So low jacks played 32 hands. VPIP is 9. Preflop raise is 6. I'm gonna assign him a fairly tight range here. If he's only playing 10% of hands out of the 32 that we have, he's probably pretty tight or just hasn't really gotten any sort of decent hands. His positional stats, he's played one hand, 1 out of 7 from mid position, 25% from cutoff and button, and he's coming with the raise from the cutoff and the button times that he has played. From MP, he didn't raise. He either limped or he called, and possibly we can check the limp. No, he looks like he probably just called an open raise. So we're going to think he's going to have somewhat of a tighter range. That's at 7.6%. I think it's probably more likely that he's playing maybe 8s plus, and broadways, suited broadways, minus the 10s. So we'll say 9% or so. We'll see. We'll see if we're correct. I've got King of Hearts, Queen of Clubs. So against this range, my hand equity is 38%. I do think I probably should have raised based on his stats. I think if I raise, he's going to fold out a lot of these junker hands. So King Queen, King Jack suited, Queen Jack suited, probably Ace Jack off, Jack 10, maybe even fold 8 or 9. It's worth it to take initiative in the hand and to get, as Tommy Angelo would say, into a bread and butter situation. I didn't raise, I just called, and both blinds folded. So now we go to the flop. Flop's Queen of Hearts, 9 of Spades, 8 of Diamonds. That looks pretty good for me. Hit top pair, second kicker, but that also is going to hit my opponent's range too. So I think right now, Ace Queen, any of the Ace Queens have me beat. Kings, Aces have me beat. King Queen has his chopping, and if it's suited, he could possibly have backdoor straight draw. So, where do we stand right now on this flop? We're probably at least 50%, because we have to remember he has actually probably less than 50%, because 8s and 9s spike trips. We beat 10s and jacks, but Jack 10 hits a straight. Queen Jack has gut shot, King Jack has gut shot, and so forth. So we're probably behind still. So just for his entire range, we are right at like 51%, or about even. And I guess that kind of makes sense because you do have Ace Jacks and Ace Kings, and that count. Both of those two cards, Ace King and Ace Jack, is 32 cards out of his range. So he bets half pot. Now, what is he going to continue with? Again, if he's going to be tight and have a tight raising range, then he's probably not going to be doing this as a bluff. So I think he's going to probably bet his straight. His straight's only, like 5% of hands. He'll probably bet sets. Could be wrong. He might like check raise sets or check and hope that I bet. But again, I just called, and this board does kind of hit a button calling range because I probably have Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10, 9 10, 9 8 in my range. So when you think about what my calling range is, I do hit this board. So I think he's going to be, if he's a thinking player, he's going to be betting his top pair hand over pair hands. Maybe not even all of his top pair hands. So let's take out like Queen Jack. Take that out. Let's see if we can take that out. So let's take out Queen Jack out of his range as one that I beat. Pocket pair below top pair. He might just check and call once to see what happens. I think top pair, if he bets and I call, or he bets, I call, and turn comes blank, he may just go into check call mode, or he may continue betting. Again, we only have 32 hands on this player, and he really hasn't played many hands at all out of those 32. Would he do it with would he bet with an open-ended straight draw? Probably not. Would he bet with a gut shot? His gut shots, probably not. Ace Jack, King Jack. His c-bet flop is only 50%, so I'm going to guess he's not betting these gut shots, these overcards, probably these backdoor flush draws. He's probably just going to check. So overall, he's probably betting 58%. And of that betting range, I'm quite behind. Even if we put in that, if we remove that filter, and he has Queen Jack in his range, I'm still behind. So I decide to call, and I think that's okay. I think there's some hands that may go into check call mode. I do think he has a solid range. Beats me. So 3 diamonds, I don't think helps. I don't think it changes anything. Straights miss. If there was a gut shot, you do have possibility of backdoor flush draw now, but that's if he has a backdoor flush draw. I also think he's going to have a pair. It's going to be a pair and backdoor flush. So now he checks, and it's to me. All right, so what does he check with on the turn? Is he going to check the straight? I'm going to say no. Is he going to check the sets? Maybe. Maybe let's say 50% of the time he checks the sets, 50% of the time he bets it. So some players will continue betting the set. Others will get scared that I might have that Jack 10, even though it's only a few combos in my total range, and they'll check call with their sets. So we'll say the set's 50%. 2 pair he doesn't have. Is he going to bet the overpair? Maybe. Maybe. He might also, depending on the player, he may do the set. He may play over pairs just like he'd play the set. So 50% of the time he'd bet, 50% of the time he doesn't. Top pair hands, maybe again. I mean, maybe he's gonna fire out with Ace Queen and King Queen. Maybe he continues checking. I think these top pair hands, it just kind of goes down to the player. A nitty player, was gonna bet, and then as soon as he gets called, he's gonna get scared. He's gonna see monsters under the bed. Be afraid of that straight, even with a hand as strong as this set. And I think that's why we can say 50%, 50%. What about all the other hands? Pocket pair below top pair. Yeah, he's probably checking. He's probably checking actually his entire range. So even the hands that he even the hands that he's planning to check fold. So pocket pair below top pair, I think he checks. His flush draws, if he picked it up, he's going to check. All these hands are going to check. So right now, 63%, accounting for 50% of the time he's going to check or versus lead. Uh, I'm at 44%. All right, so now I bet, and he just calls. All right, so I bet he just calls. I'm going to take out this pocket pair below top pair. My bet of 10, 10.44 big blinds is almost pot. So I'm repping strength here. I think now all sets are going to call. So 50% of the time that he checked, he's going to call. I think the over pair is going to call. I even think top pair is going to call, but the pocket pair below top pair, I think is going to fold. I don't think the gut shot's going to call for one more. And that means the flush draws, of the flush draws, he's got Jack 10, which he'll have the straight, King Queen's top pair, Ace Queen's top pair. That's already going to be there. What about the gut shots? Those are Jacks and 10s. I don't think he's going to call. So again, I bet the only thing we're going to lose are those pocket pair below top pair. And again, we've got 50% chance that he check called instead of leading these sets and over pairs, and also the top pair hand. So you'll notice that when we did that, the equity of my hand dropped 13.77. So then the river is the 5 of hearts. That doesn't change anything. He's going to bet, he's going to check, and I check behind. And I think that's a pretty good check, because when you think about what hands he's going to get here, really, he's going to have at least top pair, or at least that I think he's going to have at least top pair. Yeah, he may have the diamonds, but that's going to be so small. And if I bet, they're not going to call. I think the only things that are going to call at this point are going to be hands that beat me. So top pair plus. All right, so I check behind. What does he have? He's got Ace Queen of diamonds. So Ace Queen of diamonds is definitely in his range. I think overall, I think this was pretty decent hand to review. Now, should I have bet that turn? One of the common plays that you can use is, he has initiative in the hand. He bets the flop. Kind of expect him to c-bet it. I call, and then as soon as he checks a turn, that indicates weakness. You can attack that weakness by betting, and betting a larger size, because they're going to fold. They took a stab at their c-bet. They didn't win the pot, so now they check, and that check is kind of a sign that they're going to give up. Was that going to be good here? Well, it just kind of comes down to the range. We can take off these filters. Let's take off these filters and say that maybe he doesn't ever check these hands. Maybe he always bets. And then we could say, well, what hands would he have continued betting? I still think he's checking pocket pair, but maybe he continues betting with the set. Maybe he continues betting with the straights, and the 2 pair he doesn't have anything, but then he's going to check the over pair. So when I bet, then, what hands is he going to fold out? So at this point, he's checking all of these hands. I think we got everything. He's going to check all of these hands, and that's 78% of his range, or 36 combos. So 36 combos. And then when I bet and he calls, what is he going to call with? Well, he's going to call with his over pair, and he's going to call with his top pair. So when my bet happens, he's continuing with 24 combos out of the 36 that he had. So when you look at 12 combos that he's folding, that represents a third pot. So out of that, 33% of the time he's going to be folding. I bet almost pot, and I need him to fold more than 33% of the time. Actually, I need him to fold 50% of the time. to show automatic profit. But if he does call, then you know, chances are I'm looking at a chop. So maybe my pot bet wasn't as good. Maybe it would be better to size my bet down to maybe half pot size, uh, where now I only need him to fold 33% of the time, and that matches it. So it's kind of indifferent as to whether or not uh, I care if he calls or folds. Or again, our last bit is maybe I just check behind. I have the queen. I've got second kicker. Why not check behind and take the river? I mean, what hands do I see that would bet and then check behind? Uh, well, I think we get those pocket pairs. They leave them in his range. So if I check behind, and now once we have those pocket pairs in there, and that five of hearts comes on the river, now we've got 42% chance. Increases the chance that we can actually win this hand just because we kept some of those lower cards. I still don't think we would bet. I don't think jacks and tens are going to call, but I think this is how we approach this hand from the button. All right, so this was first hand. I'm gonna pause video and swap out hands for hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is short-handed. Three-handed, I'm on the button with king 7 of diamonds. I have a few more hands on the players, but with short-handed play, some of the stats can become skewed. So with king 7 of diamonds, I just limped. If I could, I'd take this back. I think I should have raised, but I just limped. And that opened up the raise from the button. Now, what is the button going to raise here? I have him 49%, 31%. He looks like he is an aggressive player. And actually, when you look at his ranges, his 3-bet range, I have kings. That's versus steals. I have ace-10 suited. I think he's going to have a fairly wide range here, so we'll say we'll have all pockets, broadways, probably not all suited, but I'm going to guess he's playing something pretty wide. Maybe even all of these. We'll add these too. That's about 39%. He's coming in for a raise at that point. I think he's going to check behind with some of these, but I think it's pretty wide range, and it kind of fits this guy's style. He's going to play it a lot, and it's three-handed. We could probably even add all suited cards, but I think we'll start here. So he raised, I called, and the flop comes down queen 7-4. So king 7 of diamonds. I hit middle pair. Where do I think this stacks up against this range? I actually think I'm doing pretty well. I think he has a lot of hands in his range that's going to miss. Yeah, he has queens that are going to hit. So queens that'll hit. He has some sevens that are going to hit. But he has all of these kings that miss, all these aces that miss. So I think I actually like where I'm standing here. So queen 7, or queen of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 4 of hearts. Take the filters off. So just on that flop, I figured to have the best hand 66% of the time, which is what we'd expect. Now he leads into me. I'm not surprised. His c-bet flop is 67%. He's out of position. Is he going to c-bet? And you know, based on his aggression, I think he's going to always kind of keep everything, all his aggression up. So I think he's probably going to bet all of these hands. He may even bet all of his ace highs. His 2-card backdoor flush, maybe. So I think he's going to go with 73% of his range, 74% of his range, which I'm still in pretty good position. I just call. Is that a good call? Well, it kind of comes down to what the turn card, what are the runouts going to look like? And for that, we can look over here. So we're looking at cards that are going to be great for my range and bad for his. So the red are actually pretty good for my range. It gives me 2 pair, it gives me trips and so forth. Let me open this up a little bit. But there are a lot of cards that are going to be helpful to his range. With middle pair, weak pair. Really, the ace is probably going to be one of the worst cards. That's going to help his range because he has a ton of aces in his betting range. Queens. So just in the distribution, you can see there are a lot more cards that are going to help him on the turn than would help me. I kind of think I should have raised because I want to get some of these hands out, but I didn't. I just called and a 5, and that's actually probably a good card for me. So just looking at what he continued with, how many of them have a 5? Not many of them. How many of them still have, let's say 6-8 or 6-3? Not too many. So let's see what we have. That equity of the hand drops me down. Did I really? Yeah, I was ahead, and then the 5 of spades. 5 of spades hit. Still keeps my equity of the hand 56. So I'm still ahead. He still leads into me. Now, let's go back. He bet half pot. And now he bet more than half pot. He bet, it's just 2/3 pot. Maybe. We'll see. 3/4, 75%. Now that really suggests, he's increased the size of the bet. Really suggests that he has a hand at this point. So what is he going to be betting here with the sizing? I think he's going to bet his sets, 2 pair, his overpair, his top pair hands probably. What about pocket pair below top pair? No, I don't think he's going to bleed those. I don't think he's going to lead his middle pair or his weak pair. I think his ace-high hands are going to give up unless he has some sort of draw here. So maybe the open-ended straight draw. Gut shot. I don't think he'll do the gut shot. I think open-ended straight draws. He's going to take initiative, and we could even scale those down and say that there's, he has a less chance that he's actually going to bet those because some people will check call with the open-ended straight draw. But knowing how aggressive this guy is based on his stats, I'm going to say he's probably still firing those. So once he fires those, my hand equity drops to 33%. I should probably fold. I don't. Because knowing the size, I think the chance that he actually has a queen now drastically increases. I call, and then we have a 4 of clubs, and that paired the board. Now, I don't think that's going to really change a whole lot. It's not going to change equities a whole lot. Yeah, I'm still at 35%. So he bets now. He overbets the pot, 33.6. What is he going to do that with? And I think he's going to do that with hands that miss or hands that are just solid. So does he have quads? Yeah, he could have quads. I don't think quads is necessarily going to bet that large, but you never know. Some people are going to bet quads. You're going to bet a full house that way. He doesn't have a straight. Uh, Three of a kind. I'm going to say no. He doesn't bet that large. An overpair, probably not. A good two pair, probably not. Top pair. If he has top pair, he's got that queen. Uh, I don't think he's gonna bet that large. What else? What else would he have? Um, I think the weak pair. So the six. Uh, that was the open-ended straight draw. Um, 6 and 6-5. Yeah, I think that kind of counts as part of his bluff. He missed the straight, open-ended straight draw, and now he's putting pressure on me to fold. And the ace high hands, we're gonna say, yeah, probably the ace sixes. He could be doing that. So that size bet, maybe 29%. And my hand now, if he does it with these hands, my equity is at 71%. Am I getting that? I'm getting actually more than that. So he's betting 33.6. That's what I have to call in order to win. Total of 57.6. So I need 58.3. I think I'm getting that. Because again, bet sizing. I call. What does he have? He had ace four. He had trips. So was that in his range? I did have it in his range. Let's see here. So I had ace four up until the turn. So he had to bet the weak pair. I didn't have him betting the weak pair. So this guy's probably even more aggressive than what we're giving him credit for. If we add in the weak pair, does that change anything? Well, yeah, if he's going to have the weak pair and he's betting that, he's probably also doing middle pair and pocket pair below top pair as well. So he's probably doing all of those, which gives me, good equity, 43%. And then when that four of clubs hits, my equity drops to 38. Now, we know he'll do it with three of a kind. And maybe he's only doing it for value. So if we take out the hands, did he do it for value? So three of a kind, straight full house. We'll take those. I can't beat that. I should fold. But what if he does that with the weak pairs? So the 6-5. What if he does it with the middle pair? If he does it with the weak pair, I could call. I'm getting the pot odds to call. I'm not quite getting the pot odds to call. If he does it with middle pair, bad two pair. Yeah. So I think you need to have these hands in his range, which would actually represent a lot of hands in order to get to where this would be a call. So I had it in his range. I had ace four in his range up until the turn where I didn't think he would continue betting that low pair. I was wrong. So, mark it up and say this guy's aggressive. This guy's going to keep firing, even with something as weak as a bottom pair. All right. So day 2 done. Look for me tomorrow.